Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ninky, and this is Tofu, and this is my manga haul for the first half of December. It's the holiday season, and my last day of work for the year is so close. This is probably my second last video of the year. I'll probably do a final haul before the new year, but for today, I wanted to show you guys what I picked up in the first half of December, and also for Black Friday. So let's get into the haul, grab a cup of tea or something sweet, and let's hang out. Okay, so this first package is from Amazon. Tofu still thinks it's hers. Little dickhead. So the first thing I've picked up is Utsubora by Asumiko Nakamura. I think Nakamura is best known for her BL manga. I think she did Classmates. This one is a mystery and it's a single volume. It's about the height of a normal manga volume and the cover is really glossy. I'm not sure if you can tell with the plastic on. There's some mild nudity, hence my shippo. As you can tell, this manga does have some mature themes. It's about a young novelist who is about to make it big, she's about to blow up. Her debut is called Utsubora and it's being pitched to all of these editors, but then the novelist is found dead. Some believe it's suicide, but others close to her think that there's something more sinister going on, and the story revolves around getting to the bottom of her death. Next up, we have another package from Amazon. And I've picked up the last 3 volumes that I needed of The Water Dragon's Bride by Ray Toma. So this completes my set. This final volume's cover is so pretty. I just love Asahi and she's just so colourful and joyful. Now I won't lie to you guys, I've already binged this series and I loved it. I spoke about it in my initial impressions in my last video, which I'll link up above. We have a young girl called Asahi who falls into a pond and is sent back in time. She's taken in by a village who then offers her up to the water dragon god as his bride. He's this beautiful stoic mortal who, I think the best word is indifferent. She's too young to wed, so he throws her back up to the surface and the village then consider her to be this amazing water priestess. Most of the story then takes place when she's much older, like late teens, and all she wants is to be returned home to her time and to her family. I loved the way that the relationship between Asahi and the water god built up, and there were so many interesting themes that surrounded them. You had Asahi who is torn between the world that she remembers in her true family and the home that she's built and the people that she grew up with and that she knows. You also have a world where the gods were central and prosperity was often tied to supernatural occurrences, so wars and hostility could revolve around where that prosperity was perceived to exist, like who had the gods' favour. I might do a proper deep dive into the series in a separate video, but if you're thinking about picking this up, or if you're into shoujo with gods or yokai or whatever, then I would highly recommend giving this a go. It might have been how late I did stay up, but the last couple volumes did have me in tears. Next up is a package from Angus & Robertson. I'm pretty sure I know what this is. It's filthy, but this is my replacement copy of Monster Volume 4 by Naoki Urasawa. I received a pretty banged up copy last month. I've spoken about Monster in every single one of my videos, but it is one that I recommend you check out. Alright, so we'll move along to a lunchtime pickup from Kinokuniya, and that is Solanin by Inio Asano. Now, I'm not totally sure if Inio Asano's art style is going to be totally for me, but I thought this would be a good one to try before I commit to something like Goodnight Pun Pun. This is a really nice Viz signature edition. It's got those great flaps and it's hefty and it has a bit of a matte cover. I saw this manga described somewhere as being about the realization you have in your early to mid-20s that you're not special and that that's okay. It follows Meiko Inoue, who is a recent college graduate and is working in a shitty office job. Her boyfriend's crashing at her place because he's a freelance illustrator and doesn't make enough for rent, and her parents live in the country and are constantly sending her boxes of vegetables that just sit and rot in her fridge. I think the synopsis of this really hit home for me. I mean, I'd like to think that I'm just starting to exit this stage of life, and I'm really interested to see how this slice of life captures that sort of cusp of adulthood. Then we have a package from Booktopia. And we have Flowers of Evil Volume 2 by Shuzo Ashimi. Finally! As you guys know, I have been waiting to keep going with this series forever. The spines on these omnibus editions are beautiful, and originally why I was interested in picking this series up in the first place. But the series was unlike any manga that I'd read before, and I think it was a big part of inspiring me to deep dive into manga collecting. At a more conceptual level, this series is about that time in your life when you start to individuate. You become aware that you are being perceived by others, and others are forming judgments about you, and that those can be negative. That time is fraught with anxiety, self-doubt, stress, panic. And to make matters worse, that's also the time when you start weaving in sexuality, attraction, urges, and the negative perceptions of that, like perversion. Lentil is very curious about what we're doing. She loves a good manga haul video. Thank you, sweet goblin. Okay, so we've got another Booktopia delivery, which I'll just do over here because Lentil doesn't seem to want to move. Okay, we're really interested, Lentil. And we have Flowers of Evil Volume 3, which rounds out my set. I can now sit down and finally binge read this. So what was I saying before? Yes, the conceptual level, so then more literal. The story itself follows a guy called Kasuga, who is introverted and super into foreign literature, and thinks he's superior to everyone because of that. He's got this huge crush on a girl called Saiki, but the catalyst for the whole series is another girl called Nakamura, who is obsessed with the idea of unleashing Kasuga's true self, or the true self of anyone who lives in their town, just all that perverted, confused, angry emotions. I don't think this series will be necessarily for everyone, but if you're into psychological dramas or thrillers, I think this could hit a sweet spot for you. Now for another Amazon package. And we have Kamisama Kiss, Volume 15 by Julieta Suzuki. I've spoken about this series in my previous videos, but I rewatched the anime recently and fell back in love with it, and I'm trying slowly to fill in my collection so that I can re-experience it through the manga. I think it's a really great shoujo and worth checking out if you haven't heard of it before. And now for another Booktopia delivery. God, it's stuck. Here we go. It's the box set of A Silent Voice. Sorry for the glare on the plastic. This is a series that doesn't really need much introduction. I feel like it's pretty prominent in the community. There were actually quite a lot of dinged edges and some creasing on a volume in this set, which I wasn't super impressed with. I did speak to Booktopia though, and they offered to replace the set, which was really nice of them. But I'm going to go through and show you guys what's in here anyway. This box set is so cute, and it comes with all 7 volumes, plus a copy of Shoko's communication notebook, which includes some of the phrases from the first volume inside. It also comes with a poster that has the mangaka's other series, To Your Eternity, on one side and a silent voice on the other. So, if you're not sure what a silent voice is, it's a manga about bullying and its impact. We follow a boy called Shoya, who at the beginning of the story is in middle school and is that loud, brash, kind of rude, kind of mean kid. You know, the ones that jump off bridges and do naughty, shitty stuff like torture bugs and stuff. One day, a transfer student starts at Shoya's school. Her name is Shoko, and she is hearing impaired. She then becomes Shoya's target, and the first volume is really interesting, where you see how bullying behaviours grow and compound. At the beginning, it's name-calling or teasing, like Shoya will roll up his notebook and shout through it like a megaphone behind Shoko, and she obviously doesn't notice. It's not just these behaviours though, you see the other kids dabbling in it, the teacher finding it amusing, dismissing it, or even noting that he understands why Shoya finds Shoko's communication needs so frustrating. It creates this environment which is so hostile and behaviours that are so accepted that you almost can't unwind them. There's a scene in this first volume where Shoko seems to try and befriend Shoya and it just broke my heart. But yes, the behaviours escalate. Shoya, for example, has a habit of ripping Shoko's hearing aids out and stomping on them or throwing them out of windows. And if you know anything about hearing aids, you know that they're really expensive. So in a heartbeat, when the consequences of the bullying catch up, and Shoko transfers out of the school, everything turns on Shoya. He's then ostracized, bullied himself for what seems like the rest of his schooling, and he understands the impact of his actions. The series, I'm assuming, then follows his redemption arc. It seems like it's about realizing your ignorance and then attempting to overcome it. I'm about 2 volumes into this, and so far I think it's a really interesting take on bullying and that redemption arc. I am fascinated by Shoko, and I'm really interested to see how her character will develop. She's kind, caring, and understanding, and she's just yearning for connection. The small builds in her emotion throughout the first volume, the eruption of frustration when she and Shoya like clash physically. I mean, I was flipping the pages so fast. I'm keen to read all of this over my holiday break, so I might let you guys know how I go with it. Then we have another package from Booktopia. First up, we have Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 9 by Gege Akutami. This will not be the first JJK volume that you see in this video. I think 9 though is where the first season of the anime ended. We then have Maison Ikkoku Volume 2 by Rumiko Takahashi. This is a romance slice of life from the 80s. I've read the first omnibus volume and I enjoyed it, like enough that I want to keep going and see what happens. We then have Remina by Junji Ito. You guys know that I love the creativity of Junji Ito and how visceral his storytelling and his art style is. I'm pretty sure this one isn't a short story collection, it's just a one-shot. It's about an unknown planet that suddenly emerges from inside a wormhole light years away from Earth. The planet's named after the discoverer's daughter, who becomes a bit of a celebrity, but then things go wrong and naturally people want to blame someone. You know, I've heard mixed things about the story, but I'm keen on it. We then have, yes, another package from Booktopia. First up, we have Volume 12 of Jujutsu Kaisen. We then have Blood on the Tracks Volume 4 by Shuzo Ashimi. This is my second Ashimi series. I haven't started it yet. Now that I have a good chunk of what's out, I think I'll get started once I get through Flowers of Evil. We then have Paradise Kiss, the 20th anniversary edition by Ayazawa. I knew this volume was big, but like, wow, it's big. The spine seems pretty okay on it though. Now, this is apparently the fashion manga, and fashion movies and TV have always been a guilty pleasure of mine, so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. I know a lot of people have recommended this, so I am intrigued. From what I know, this follows a high school student called Yukari. She's going through the motions and she's feeling burnt out. She's working really hard to get into one of the best schools, but it's one of those things where like no matter how hard she works, she just can't do as well as her mother wants her to. Then one day, her path crosses with a few fashion students who call themselves Paradise Kiss. They're looking for someone to model for them for their school competition, and she's drawn into their world. I think this is the sort of thing that I probably would have been obsessed with when I was in high school, so yeah. Alright, another day and I went to Kinokuniya. So let's see what I got. First up is Ciguatera by Minoru Furuya. I think I said that right. This is Furuya's English debut. I'm a little concerned about overhyping though with this one. One, because I've seen some people compare him to Ashimi, who, you know, I love. And two, because I've also seen that this mangaka has some fans that I'm a fan of. You know, people like Bong Joon-ho, Inio Asano, and Hideo Kojima. From what I know, this follows a high school student called Yusuke Ogino, who has a pretty modest dream of getting a motorcycle license and getting close to his crush. Ogino is also bullied, and I've heard that it's pretty confronting and the language is quite degrading, so keep that in mind if you have sensitivities to that kind of content. It seems like the focus of the storytelling is to hone in on the impact and the emotional anguish, how belittling and constant bullying can shape the victim's view of themselves. At its core, it's a coming-of-age story, just maybe geared towards an older audience. Then we have The Golden Sheep by Kaori Ozaki. From what I know, this is a slice of life that's all about friendship and how people change over time and how that can be difficult to accept. I know it covers some more mature themes like bullying, suicide, depression, and some complicated family dynamics. It follows Makura, who has 3 childhood friends, and due to some family circumstances, she moves away from the town. She stays connected with them through letters though, and when her mother decides to move back, she has this deep desire to return and reconnect with them. But what she finds is that the 3 of them are no longer connected to each other, and they each carry a burden of some kind. Now we're taking a step backwards to a few weeks ago and Black Friday. I just got home from Kinokuniya and I'm going to show you guys what I picked up. Starting with volumes 5 and 6 of Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Ashimi. I think I now have everything up to volume 6. I've spoken about this series before, but it follows a boy called Seiichi, who is in middle school and has a pretty typical life, like it's pretty mundane. He's got friends, he's got a crush on a girl at school, and he's got loving parents. Except his mother has always been incredibly overprotective. This is a slow burn psychological thriller, so like Flowers of Evil, it won't be for everyone. From what I've heard, this series has been praised for the way that Ashimi slowly bends and warps the concept of love and unconditional love for one's family in unsettling ways. It's atmospheric, and having experienced Ashimi's work before, I'm really excited to start this series. I'll keep you guys updated. We then have Yona of the Dawn, volumes 17, 18, and 19. Yona is another one of those series that I've come to from the anime. It's just one of those series that fills my heart up, you know? I love the distinct personalities of all the dragon warriors, but I also just really love Yona. I love that the series provides her with a slower development from a young girl whose only concerns surround more fickle things like love, to someone who has to adapt to her circumstances, who grows from a place of vulnerability to strength and independence, but is also emotionally complex. There's light and dark to her experience and to her, which I feel like I haven't seen too often in female leads. And speaking of series that I've come to from the anime, we have volumes 10 and 11 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I've seen a lot of great anime this year, but I haven't had as much fun watching an anime as I have had watching Jujutsu Kaisen. I think there are definitely parts that have the nostalgia for past shonen, and its core concept has some beloved storytelling tropes just generally, but I think the characters, world building and plotting is really masterclass, and that's just what makes it so compelling. And then, because I'm a crazy person, I picked up everything that I didn't have for Promised Neverland, so I've got volumes 14 through to 20. Is the art style my favourite thing ever? Probably not, but I really enjoy the characters and I love the storytelling. It's horror meets thriller meets mystery meets survival meets escape. It's just really fun. I've spoken about the Promised Neverland in my previous videos, but if you're new or you want a refresher, it follows a group of orphans who live in this beautiful orphanage in the countryside called Graceville House. And they are taking care of this woman Isabella, who they all call Mum. They seem pretty separated from the world, and every so often one of them leaves because seemingly they've been fostered or adopted. But then the eldest kids, who are aged 11, find out that things aren't what they seem at the orphanage, and if they don't escape soon, they're all going to die. I didn't want to spoil the setup when I first started reading, but having delved into it a bit further, that twist is in the first chapter. Basically, protagonists find out that their orphanage is a farm, and the children are meat being raised to be fed to demons. Mum is working with or for those demons. So this series is all about the aftermath of that discovery. The children want to escape. They want to know what happened to our world. That means demons are operating these farms and humans are either working with them or being raised as cattle. It's twisty-turvy and the pace is really great, to the extent that it makes you want to keep uncovering secrets with them. And even though I said the art isn't my favorite thing, it is beautiful, and it really aids in driving the mystery about this setting and the demons themselves. I think at the time that I picked this up, I just finished volume 4, and the end of that volume basically made me go, mind my language, but oh fuck. Which is a reaction that means I'm obviously going to pick up everything else in the series. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm trying a new series out, I'm really trying to find that more visceral, emotional reaction. Even if it's that's super cute, that made me feel comfy, that made me feel unsettled, I'm just looking for a reaction. What about you guys? Do you have particular things that you're looking out for when you start reading? When I read into the premise of the series, back when I picked up my first manga series on this journey, I was drawn to this in part because of the horror element, but also because the premise kind of reminded me of a book that I enjoyed in high school. That is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is about a group of young people growing up, I think in an orphanage, who find out that they're clones and that they're being raised to donate their organs. You might have seen the movie. It had Keira Knightley and Carey Mulligan and I think Andrew Garfield in it. Obviously the stories are totally different, but I'm glad that that connection brought me to this series because I am really enjoying it. Oh, this volume 20 is chunky. I don't know if you guys can tell that. Lol, you can't. But trust me, this one is a bit thicker than the others. So that's it for my December haul, or the first part of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'd love to know what manga you've got under the tree that you can't wait to unwrap, or anything really that you've picked up recently that you're super keen on. And if you enjoyed the video, it'd mean the world if you gave it a like and considered subscribing to my channel. Until next time, have a good day.